1, 2, 3, 4. Those are numbers, but you already knew that. If you want to know what number you're going to pay each month for your car, use Kelly Blue Book My Wallet on Auto Trader. They're really good at numbers. Auto Trader.
I just want to say one thing to my wife who's home. Yo, Adrian! I did it!
Alright, and welcome to Unequal Sequel. My name is Dave, and I'm one of the hosts of this extraordinary podcast.
And I'm Rich, and I am the other host of this extraordinary podcast. Think of me as Rocky to Dave's Apollo Creed. I'm a scrappy contender, but he's the champ.
Yeah, I the tiger and all that. Brilliant. The premise of Unequal Sequel is very simple. We ask our guests their best ever sequel, worst ever sequel, and finally their dream sequel.
And of course, we quite often drift off course and we have some chats about movies and life in general, really.
And it's lovely. We should also point out we do drop spoilers for the movies we talk about. So if we mention a movie you haven't seen or you don't want it spoiled, just move along to the next section.
Yeah.
Thank you. On today's episode, we are joined by the brilliant Stu Whiffen.
Stu is the editor of Podbible Magazine and one of the presenters of the Podbible Podcast. He is also the presenter of Off the Beaten Track podcast. He does Hardcore Listings with Chris Glasson. He also does the MMA Fan podcast with Blake Harrison. That's a great podcast too. Have I missed any of Stu's podcasts, Dave?
Probably. He does
Probably.
loads.
He's Mr. Podcast. And you will also hear him on the Drunkcast version of Scroobius Pip's Distraction Pieces podcast every Christmas, which is my favourite, always my favourite episodes of that podcast.
Brilliant.
It was brilliant talking to Stu. I really like him. He's a top man.
Yeah, we were very excited to sit down with Stu and chat all things sequels with him.
These are Stu Whiffen's Unequal Sequels. Enjoy.
Do you remember the first sequel that you got excited about?
The first sequel that I got excited about, I'm sure would have been Empire Strikes Back. I think. Answer. I'm just trying to think of films in my I'm 48, so I was lucky that, and it makes me sound like I was spoiled. I wasn't. We was piss poor, but yeah, my parents took me to Leicester Square to see Star Wars when I was very young, and
oh my God,
and just to add some extra spoilt bratness to it. Afterwards, they then took me to Hamley's and they bought me the figures of Luke and R2.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, I think that was like, I done a film podcast called Films to Be Buried With, and we was talking about cinematic experiences, and I just think that took some beating. I think, I don't think I've ever... Well, I have bettered it, and that will come up later when we discuss one of my films, actually.
Oh, wicked. Okay, cool. Did you get to keep the toys in a box? Are they still sealed?
I didn't, and
damn it.
I was obsessed with collecting Star Wars figures. My very good friend's dad was actually the key grip on Star Wars, Empire and Jedi. He lives at the end of my road and still has clapperboards for Empire, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Flash Gordon. When I was growing up, me and my friend Mark, who now also is a key grip, that's his son, we used to play like army, like guns, with fiberglass swords and guns that were used in Flash Gordon. And this sounds like I'm lying, but I swear I'm not. He had a pair of Wingmen's wings that were this floppy foam with these little straps. So he had a pair of Wingmen's wings from Flash Gordon, and we used
That's amazing.
Yeah. He was a really good mate to have because his dad was always on location 24/7. He felt a bit guilty, so Mark had like a BMX, a drum kit, a CB radio. He had like all the cool stuff that none of your other like mates in this area could afford. He had all that because his dad was always away on location. And obviously, in hindsight, when you actually sort of look back on that, you go, "Wow, your dad had the coolest job ever."
Yeah.
I digress. Sorry, I'm used
No,
to.
that's
I
brilliant.
should be in the passenger seat, but I just get a little bit overexcited when there's a microphone in front of me. I go into podcaster mode. Sorry.
This is your episode. It's your podcast, as far as we're concerned, for today. So we're just here to listen to you. We don't.
But,
Yeah.
To answer your figures question, I sold all my figures when I was about 10 or 11, and for next to nothing to buy Action Force figures that had just come out, which I regret to this day. But when we finish this recording, I'll turn the camera around and I will show you a setup very similar to what I can see behind you, Rich, of shelves. Mine are chocker with Star Wars toys that over lockdown I lost my mind and my bank balance rebuying all of the toys that I had, and some of the ones that I never had. That I never had a Tauntaun, and I wanted it so bad, and I own a Tauntaun now and a Wampa.
Brilliant.
It's so great being an adult because you get to make those choices. It's like if you want to eat pudding for dinner or ice cream for breakfast, you can.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
Thanks.
Buy
mate.
toys.
Cheers, Dave. I need to hear this every now and again.
I'll let Rich tell you what he collects and what's behind him because he's kind of the same thing.
Mine are all Transformers.
Wonderful.
I have to share them with my little boy who's 6.
Yeah.
He occasionally will come in and be like, "Can I borrow some of your Transformers, please, Dad? Because I need someone to fight." And so I have to let him share my collection.
Well, I mean, that's very good parenting. I think. I mean, I have daughters, and they couldn't give a shit about my Star Wars toys. I think they just look a little bit disappointed in me that Daddy's got toys, and I'm cool with that because if they were like, "Yeah, can we just mess around with them?" I'll be a nervous wreck. Don't touch
I've just
them.
had to let it go. I just had to mine aren't proper vintage. They're they're just for me.
Yeah.
But I just have to let it go. And if something happens, it happens. One got stolen by the dog the other day, and I'm like, but I'm like, it's only a toy. It's all right. Let it go.
Wow, that's a pretty placid way of dealing with that. I think I'll be having that argument with myself that it's only a dog, and just think.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, to be honest, when he swallowed one of my son's toys the other day and I had to take him to the vet, I was thinking, $3,000 for an operation, or I could just see if it comes out. I think
Oh my god. So Empire Strikes Back, is that your favourite Star Wars sequel?
No, Jedi's my favourite Star Wars film. Is that yours, Dave?
It's the best.
Rich, what's yours?
Mine's Empire, but yeah, I like Jedi. I do. I'm not one of these people that think that. There's lots of people that hate on Jedi. I'm definitely not one of them. But Empire's just that little bit darker, and I think I'm dark inside, really.
I mean, a lot of people think I'm dead inside, but I don't get why Empire's everyone's favourite. I don't get it. I'm putting Star Wars ahead of that as well. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, of course, but Jedi's got everything that I want from a sequel. Yeah, when I thought about doing this list about what's my favourite sequel, my mind instantly went to Star Wars because the room I'm sitting in is absolutely full of Star Wars memorabilia and stuff. But yeah, it's not. It's the latter. I think Jedi for me was just I want Ewoks. That scene with the land speeders through Endor, that's one of the greatest scenes ever in Star Wars films as far as I'm concerned. That said, bollocks, yeah. That said, the snow speeders and the AT-ATs, that's some serious shit, that, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
I don't think you can beat the freeway battle at the end of Jedi, though. That's for me is the best Star Wars. It's my favourite.
Absolutely.
Yeah, anyone who says they don't like Jedi is either lying or trying to be cool, and that's I've got no time for that. And Ewoks are great. Sorry, they just are.
I want the roller coaster as well. I want the joy, but I want the tears. And I never had tears when Obi-Wan got struck down because I knew he was coming back. Right? Obviously, spoiler alert. Further on down the line, when Han gets killed, oh mate, there was some serious tears in the cinema there. But the first time I was emotionally moved in a Star Wars film, dead Ewok, man. When that Ewok gets killed and the other Ewok's crying, come on. Like, I literally just got goosebumps saying that. Like...
I agree with you.
Oh dear.
Great answer. What is your best sequel ever?
Rocky 2.
Great choice. And why is that?
Because Rocky's a great film. I'm ridiculously this room I'm sitting in is split. One side is Star Wars stuff, the other side is combat sports. So I have a podcast about mixed martial arts, but my primal love for combat sports was boxing, always boxing, and that was bred out of watching Rocky as a kid. I adore boxing films, as we will, I'm sure, it'll unfold as this podcast keeps going. But for me, I think Rocky 2, there's many reasons really. I still think it's the best one of all of them, right. And I love the story of the first one, but the second one is where there's a bit of hope, and he gets another crack at it. So for those that haven't seen it, like obviously in the first one he gets called out of nowhere as a sort of struggling amateur boxer and gets a crack at Apollo Creed, the world champ. And although he doesn't beat him, he puts in an incredible performance, fight of his life, and you get to see the early, the early days of his relationship with his missus, and it you get already familiar with the characters, the trainer, his brother-in-law, and I know that there's lots of cheesiness that has come from boxing films, but I think them first two, and I love 4. I love 3 and 4 as well, but for me the second one just gets it right. The story I think is perfect. He gets his second shot, Apollo Creed, and his trainers kind of say that he's had his moment. He's not really got it in him, and there's all sorts of drama. His pregnant missus becomes poorly, and wakes from a coma and tells him to win. Cue training montage. I don't care what anyone says. If you love boxing or you don't love boxing, if you're not fired up after 10 seconds of a Rocky training montage, what's wrong with you, man? Have a word with yourself, because it's glorious. The actual Rocky theme, the full-length instrumental theme, not Eye of the Tiger or any of the ones that followed. The actual instrumental Rocky theme is incredible. It's such a brilliant piece of music. The fact that it's also spirals into the tune that comes in when the bell goes or the 10 count drops and he wins. That bit.
It's literally playing in my head now. You're talking about it.
Oh, it's amazing. The ring rush. Everyone rushes in, lifts him up. Generally will say something to his wife or his kid, or in Rocky 4 addresses the world and the Russian president, and brings on world peace. I mean, quite ambitious, but he done it. But yeah, Rocky,
he believed.
He did believe, and I just think it's glorious. If you, I mean, I don't know if either of you have ever been to Philadelphia, and I mean that's a dream to go there and run the stairs would be absolutely amazing. And there's a great video on YouTube of, I think every day, like however many thousands of people get filmed running up them stairs to do the Rocky run. And there's just this amazing thing of this guy filming his mate, and they're running up together, and they get to the top, and Stallone's filming a scene from Creed, and they get to the top, and fucking Rocky's there, and they're like, oh my God. He's got this incredible little thing that he's captured on film of just getting to the top, and the Italian Stallion's up there already. I just think that's a good day in the office. It really is.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I hadn't seen Rocky 2.
Okay.
I'd seen 1 and I'd seen 4 before we started doing the podcast. So I'm so glad that I've actually got to watch it. Maybe not so glad about ones we'll talk about later, but I'm so glad I got to watch Rocky 2. It's so good.
It's so good.
It's a really good sequel, and not like I'd seen Rocky quite a long time ago, and it just kind of brought all the things, all of it back. And you're right. How can you not be fired up watching that? Yeah. You know, how could you not get goosebumps? Yeah. It was great. I really enjoyed it.
So are you yet to see 3?
I've not seen 3. Yeah.
I think there's robots in 3.
No,
really?
the robots in 4, isn't it?
Is it 4, the robots?
Robots in 4.
Okay, yeah. In 3, I mean, you meet Clubber Lang. You know, Mr. T's in 3. And he's
Mr. T's in 3.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go and watch Rocky 3 after
because
this. Then
Mr. T's love of boxing, and he's, you know, he must have trained good for that, because he looked like he really knew how to box. From what I gather, Mr. T was no stranger to being able to, you know, scrap. Because was famously, I don't know if you gents know this, he was Muhammad Ali's bodyguard.
Was he?
That's amazing.
I didn't know that.
I mean, how hard are you if you're Muhammad Ali's bodyguard?
You've got to be pretty special.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive boxing fan, but to me, is Rocky actually a decent boxer? Because he never seems to guard.
I wanted to ask about this.
He literally never puts his hands up, ever. Like, he just stands there and lets people hit him.
I mean, I don't think you necessarily would have had to have, like, gone to a boxing club to kind of work out that, you know, a lot of that is to, you know, if there was a 12-round fight where it was just really class boxing, where everybody was fighting like Floyd Mayweather, it wouldn't make for interesting cinema. However, the fact that in Rocky 3 he ropes the dope, so he does the peekaboo style and he has his hands up tight and he lets Clubber Lang keep hitting him until he gasses, and then he
You ain't so bad. You ain't so bad.
yeah. And then he finishes him. But I think the first 2, I think in Rocky 2, if my memory serves me well, he keeps going for body shots, and he keeps sort of tearing into Apollo's Achilles heel, which he's that floating rib. If the shots they throw in them films that hit them square on the chin, I mean, that would finish anyone in seconds. They're the dream shot of any boxer, and the fact that Rocky eats about 150 in most films is, it's testament to his chin, definitely. But
and then they wonder why he's got a dodgy eye.
Exactly.
Why am I injured? I wonder.
Keep your hands up, Rob.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite scene? Is there a scene that you really love about it? Like you said, a montage is always good. What I like about Rocky and Rocky 2 is that I love all the Rockies. I ran a marathon in 2012, and to get me prepared for running the marathon, I watched all the Rockies. But Rocky 1 and 2 feel like a proper film, don't they? Yeah. And then 3 and 4 and 5, and 6 comes back about a bit normal, but those, they get a bit ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but they're still great fun. What makes Rocky 2 so good? What scene does it for you?
I do like the training montage, the road run. You know, that's the big one. You know, the big run. I love the scene. It's so cheesy when she wakes from the coma. What do you want me to do? Win. And and then it just cute Mickey. What are we waiting for? I love that shit. And obviously that's where you get the Yo Adrian, we did it. At the end, and it's like I mean, they're iconic late 70s Rocky 1, early 80s. Like
Rocky 2 was 79.
Oh right, okay. So they're and to follow up Rocky as well, which was, I've got the poster here on the wall. So best director and best film editing and best picture. Rocky 1. Yeah. So to follow that, I think they just got it so right. And like you say, I totally agree with you, Dave, that the ones that followed that, I've watched 3 and 4 a hell of a lot, because I think they're great. And can I talk before we move on about my relationship with Rocky 4?
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Rocky 4's my favourite cinematic experience. So there's a theatre where I live in Grays in Essex that shut many years ago called the State, and the State Theatre was like a big old style theatre, huge. I reckon the capacity was probably 2,000. It was massive. Still there. It's a listed building.
Wow.
It's the cinema that's used in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. When he goes to the cinema in that film, that's the cinema. And I don't know if you're familiar with the music video, the Jamiroquai music video from Godzilla Deeper Underground.
Yes, big
yeah.
fan.
He's
Yeah.
dancing on the tops of the chairs and there's water everywhere.
Yeah.
That's that theatre.
Oh, wow.
So that was the sort of the cinema that I would go to as a kid, and it was an amazing experience anytime you went there. Before the film, a guy would come out of the stage playing a big, like, not a Hammond, like a big sort of organ. And we'd all be there like throwing our cola cubes and pear drops at him. And it was just, it was huge. Big velvet curtains would come back. It was an amazing experience. But I would have been in my first year of senior school, I think, when Rocky IV come out, maybe the second year, and everybody from my school went on the Saturday afternoon to watch Rocky IV. Tomorrow night I will be at York Hall in London watching a live event of combat sports, and I've been and watched huge boxing events at the O2 and UFC events at the O2. None of it come close to watching Rocky IV at the State Cinema that afternoon. The whole of my school was there when Apollo comes out to living in America to fight Ivan Drago. The whole of the cinema was up and dancing like you was at the fight. And then I remember when, obviously, spoiler alert, Apollo dies, and all the tough kids from my school were all just like pretending to laugh, thinking it was really funny, like showing off in front of the girls. And I was desperately trying to control my bottom lip because I was thinking, oh God, I'm going to cry in front of all the girls in my year. 'Cause I'm really upset about this. And then cue, Arctic training montage, and then the montage always finishes with a bell and it's straight to the ring, and then oh man, like the atmosphere in a cinema, no one sat, everyone was standing, everyone was cheering, and it was just like being at a fight. And it was like nothing I'd ever experienced in the cinema before or after that.
I'm so jealous.
I love how the Rocky films all speak the same language. They all start with a montage of what happened in the last one. It carries straight on. Like you say, the montage always ends with a bell, and that's straight into the fight. Like, I love how that kind of carries through. It's that little useful little device that kind of carries through the whole series. And so it feels like you could watch it all as like one long film, couldn't you, really?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've tried to convince my kids to do that, and they're certainly not interested. But ultimately, he's always the underdog. Whatever gets presented to him and however much money he gets and whatever, he's always fighting for something that's, more than just a pay packet. And I think that's when you become emotionally invested in Rocky's journey. I'm literally talking about this like it's fucking apocalypse now. It's a Rocky film, I know, but it is like, I love it. I've not come on here to be cool, as I'm sure you're aware.
No, that's. I think Rocky 2 is a great film. I was about to say rate them, but we'll do that later. Stallone directed it. This one. I don't know if it was his first film. Do you think he did a good job?
Yeah, absolutely. I just think the geezer's a dude.
Yeah. Have you ever met him?
God, no. I'd lose my shit. I would lose my shit. The fact that, like, he actually is inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame blows my mind. Like, I just think that's so good. And it's really weird. I speak to so many fighters on my podcast, and from some of the, from world champions down to sort of like tomorrow's champions. And when you ever sort of, I got to speak to Stephen Dorff a little while ago, the actor who's just made a combat sports film, and I had him on there, and another fighter called Tyron Woodley, and both of them, when asked like how they got into, sports movies, there's a love that an outpouring for Rocky is unbelievable. Like, I just think a lot of these. I mean, obviously, I think Stephen Dorff's probably closer to my age, but the rest of the the fighters, they're young lads, so their movies must still, find their way through and still deliver. And I guess maybe the Creed films have reintroduced a lot of people to the franchise.
Which is good. Yeah. It's so iconic, isn't it, Rocky? It's amazing that it's stood the test of time. Well, the first few are quite timeless. You could put them on today and they still work. And the music is so good. Yeah. Do you got a favourite tune? Is it on your gym workout?
It's not. The actual, just the original Rocky theme by, is it Irwin? Oh, but the original Rocky theme tune, Gonna Fly Now, it's called.
Yeah.
I just think he's just a masterpiece aside from the film. I just think it's a perfect piece. Is it Bill Conti? It's Bill Conti.
That sounds familiar.
It is. It's Bill Conti. Like, he composed that.
Yeah, Bill Conti. Yeah.
And I just think it's incredible. It's a amazing, euphoric, inspirational piece of music. I guess because it's so synonymous to those montages and seeing the underdog have his hand raised. There's so many things when I hear that go through my mind. But but I'd be lying if I said I quite like Hearts on Fire from Rocky IV.
Hearts on Fire. Yeah, that's a good one. What's the training Rocky IV one?
You've got No Easy Way Out.
That's the one I'm thinking of, when he's in the car.
Yeah.
No Easy Way. Rich, we made a video once with that in the background.
Is that the one where I knocked you out by accident?
Yeah.
We did it with a very short boxing segment where it's quite comical. I'm 6'6" and Dave is 5'6".
Right.
Thank you.
And so us boxing each other was quite funny. And I was supposed to pretend to hit him, and I accidentally did connect, didn't I, Dave?
Yeah, it hurt. It looks really good on camera, though.
Got to suffer for your art, Dave.
Yeah. I was also thinking, Rich, you haven't seen Rocky 3, but Rocky 3 has the best ending.
Really?
It's got the best freeze frame ever.
Oh, God, yeah. I still spar quite regularly, and if there's ever just two of us in the gym and we've not got the clock on, I will always put my gum shield in and do the Apollo ding-ding. Always. Yeah. Always.
Mate, you're in for a treat, Rich. It's a good one.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to watch it. I was supposed to be watching the Bake Off with my wife after this, but I'm just going to watch Rocky 3 instead.
Yeah.
With Rocky 3 though, it has got the saddest scene in all of the Rocky films in it. And it will make me well up every time I see it.
Let's not ruin that surprise for him. But yeah, it's tough, Rich. Get ready for it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm prepared.
You can probably guess what it is.
You're in for a treat, Rich. I can't believe you've not seen Rocky 3.
Yeah, I think the whole point of Dave wanting me to be on this podcast with him was that I've not seen many sequels, and I think that was the whole joke, is that trying to make me watch lots of sequels.
Okay.
And we have now.
We have now watched lots of sequels.
Love it.
Good and bad ones.
This podcast is brought to you by AT&T Fiber with All-Fi. Something tells me that the guy watching sports for 13 hours straight on Sunday, who then stays up watching the recaps of those 13 hours, then calls his friends to talk about it, is definitely going to notice that half-a-second delay.
Get AT&T Fiber with All-Fi and watch sports any time of day from anywhere in your house. Live like a gigillionaire. Limited availability in select areas. Go to att.com/hypergig to check eligibility. Coverage may require extenders at additional charge.
What has been the most disappointing sequel? So not the worst sequel, but one you maybe bigged up in your head and then you came out afterwards and you're like, oh, disappointing.
I'm going to go Police Academy 2.
Good answer.
That's a good answer.
You're a big fan of the original, though.
I've got, how many film posters have I got on my wall? I've got the Star Wars posters. I've got the first 4 Star Wars posters to my left. I've got a poster of one of my favourite films called The Wanderers there on my left. And on the right is all my boxers and MMAs, although there is the Rocky poster and the first Police Academy film poster. I love them 80s paintings, like the way that all of the VHS covers of films from that era were paintings, not photographs.
What's his name?
Whoever the artist is that does that, I'm sure that's it. He's super famous.
Raiders and original Star Wars and stuff.
Yeah, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And the first Police Academy film, I think, is close to perfect. And I was so excited for the second one, and it just didn't deliver. And then there was another one, which I think, if I had to say, maybe marginally better than 2. And then, oh my God, it went just bad and bad and bad. But I've watched them all a lot. I got a really cool Christmas present about 2 years ago. My friend knew somebody that was like involved with somebody that worked with Steve Guttenberg, and I got a video message from Steve Guttenberg just thanking me for my devotion to Police Academy. And yeah, I think in that first film, Carrie Mahoney is one of the greatest characters ever. I think he's amazing, and I'm fully aware that a lot of people are going to go, Police Academy films are shit, mate. That first one come out at an age when I would go into school and every single one of my friends would be quoting it. Every single line. We'd all be trying to do the sound effects that Larville Jones would be doing. You know, it was before they exhausted the kind of the characters. You know, Tackleberry, you know, what else can he do with a giant gun or some kind of weapon? In the first film, it's the first time you see it, it was amazing. I fell in love with Callahan. I fell in love with Kim Cattrall. Yeah, as an 80s kid, that film delivered. And I went to the aforementioned State Theatre to watch Police Academy 2, so excited. And I just remember leaving there just going, that wasn't very good, was it?
I'm so sorry.
Was that the first time you'd come out of the cinema and thought, oh, that wasn't good?
Yeah.
Like, so I think we all have that kind of first... Before that, going to the cinema is an amazing experience. And then you have that one film and you come out and you go, oh, I didn't like that.
I think, like, I'll suffer films. Like, I'll sit it out. A little while ago, the family went to the cinema. And I'd done no prep on this. We was just, we're going to the cinema with the family. What we're going to watch? We're going to go watch The Greatest Showman. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I sort of sat down, didn't know anything about it.
You had a good time, right?
And, well, about 5 minutes in, I said to my youngest, I went, oh, shit, is this a musical? And she was like, yep. 20 minutes in, I'm not going to lie, I was crying. And I was just obsessed with it. It blew my mind. I come out there just thinking I had no expectations of that. We then, on the Sunday, this was a Saturday, on the Sunday, then had the, you know, your standard Sunday roast, and I had a couple of glasses of wine, as did my wife, and it was like, should we go and watch it again? And we was like, yeah, all right. Don't go and watch it again if you've had a couple of drinks and you're emotionally vulnerable. Oh, mate, the tears were flowing again. Like, yeah. I don't know how I've ended up talking about The Greatest Showman and walking out cinemas. No, I've walked out the cinema once mid-film, and that was for a film called, was it called Vampires? Like, was it a Stephen King film?
Yeah, it's Vampires. It's rubbish.
Oh, fuck me. Yeah, I literally walked out halfway through. I thought it was absolutely horrendous. Yeah, I like the cinema. Do you know what? I really like pick a mix. And like, if the film's crap, I'll just go and spend another 40 quid on a small bag, and just get lost in that. Yeah, I'm pretty all right. If I'm in the cinema and I'm in a comfy seat and it's dark and my phone's not, you know, something I can get sort of distracted by, I'm immersed, and I'll generally
I'm the same.
And try and enjoy it.
I will sit out a film even if I'm hating it. I will watch it till the end. But I'm exactly the same as you with Greatest Showman, because I don't really like musicals, and my wife really wanted to watch it, and I was like, oh, okay, we'll watch it. And I was like 10 minutes in, I was like,
amazing. I love
like this.
It really is, isn't it? Do you boys count Grease as a musical?
Yeah, I would. Plus, I've seen the musical of it.
Yeah.
So,
right. Oh, there you go.
A long time ago. But that was good fun. I tell you what I did see the other day that I was surprised about. Sorry to go off. I saw Hairspray in the West End. I don't like the film version of it, but I watched the musical with my wife, who loves it. That's why I went and saw it. By the end of it, I think I was crying. Because it was so good to be back in the theatre. It was an overwhelming experience for all these people having such a good time. And you could tell they were having a good time while doing it. It was just so much fun. I was like, this is just great. But yeah, recommend that one. Yeah. Sorry. After talking about The Great Showman.
I often say that I don't like musicals, and then my missus will like rattle off like 10, and I'm like, oh yeah, Bugsy Malone's a musical, isn't it? Yeah, that's one of the greatest things ever made. Yeah, good point.
I think what it is I don't like bad singers. I think it's the main thing. So like the Johnny Depp,
don't know that.
Sweeney Todd.
Oh my life, yeah.
That's awful. And Rock of Ages, I don't like either.
Yeah,
I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But like same as you, like Bugsy Malone's brilliant, and all the Disney films that are essentially musicals, I love.
Good point.
And like Greatest Showman's brilliant, and I've not seen Hamilton yet, but
Hamilton's great.
I will enjoy that.
Yeah, I have seen that. It's amazing. I listen to that at least once a week, Hamilton, and I think I listen to Greatest Showman once a week. Anyway, back to the podcast.
Yeah, Police Academy 2 was the biggest disappointment. But I remember, this is going to probably piss a lot of people off, but the one that I was disappointed with then, that wasn't absolutely disgusted by, was Temple of Doom.
Wow.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Have we just fallen out, lads?
No.
I'm just surprised, that's all.
I thought if you were going to go with any Indiana Jones, you would have gone with 4. But you've gone with 2. Why is 2 so disappointing to you?
Because 1 was so perfect. Like, how do you make Han Solo cooler? How can you take a blaster off of someone and give them a whip and make them arguably cooler, right? It's just amazing, that film. And it was one of them ones that I had on VHS and would just watch daily, and I loved it so much. And then again, cinema, Temple of Doom, just couldn't wait. Just was so excited and was like, nah.
Oh.
And see, I thought 3 was all right.
3's great. That's Last Crusade.
3's really good. Yeah, but 4, Crystal Skull.
Oh yeah.
We'll pretend that didn't happen.
Yeah. I actually forgot that did happen.
I'm with you on loving Indiana Jones. When I was 5 years old, I wanted to be 3 things: Indiana Jones, Optimus Prime, or an archaeologist, so I could basically be Indiana Jones. No idea what archaeology was. Just that's what I wanted to do. I wanted a fedora and a whip and go and have adventures.
Did you study archaeology?
No,
See,
I didn't. I did
film. When we went to college, there was like an afternoon where you could either have like some kind of like extended tutorial, or you could pick like one of these other topics, one of which was archaeology. So I was like, mate, let's get involved. I wasn't chased by any great big rolling balls. I wasn't in pits with snakes. I wasn't having a punch up with a moustache clad, what was his name, Pat Bomber Roach. None of that stuff was presenting itself to me. I was at the local beach, which wasn't a beach, it was just dirt, with a metal detector, literally just digging up old Coke cans. Archaeology wasn't what I hoped it would be.
No. I think I remember my dad saying to me at the time, archaeologists don't do that. I don't think that's what you want to do. Yeah. I was like, I do, because I want to be Indiana Jones. Yeah. I was like, no.
Oh, bless. Never happened, Rich.
He's like, yeah, you just get a brush, basically.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, you've seen Time Team, right?
Yeah. I have now. I had when I was 5, but,
underwhelming.
Didn't turn out to be any of them, so I'm not Indiana Jones or Optimus Prime, so, bit of a disappointment all round, really.
Well, we never know where technology's going. Maybe that dream could come true one day and you could be part robot. You got to dream big, Rich.
You only got one life.
I'll take that. There's hope.
So what's the worst sequel? What did you put down for worst sequel?
The worst one, I'm definitely sticking with Police Academy 2, but the most disappointing was... what was the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom?
We had Rocky 5 down for your worst sequel.
Oh my God,
let's stick with...
Of course. I'm so sorry. Of course, yes.
It's all right, though. I think we can stick with Police Academy 2. I think that's a good answer.
Right, I'm going to have my say on Rocky 5 anyway.
Let's do it, because I've got a game afterwards.
Okay, right. So, Rocky 5, I mean, it's fucking terrible. Like, there's no redeeming quality about it. Tommy Morrison, maybe. Tommy Morrison, whose story is remarkable as an actual boxer. His life, whether they make that into a film, I don't know. There's a very well made documentary that's I think on Netflix about Tommy Morrison. That's that's incredible story. Like, and I guess being the guy in the Rocky film really kind of helped. But oh my God, I don't want the finale to be a backstreet brawl. Like,
no.
I want oiled up Stallone. You know, whether or not that was the film was done like that for no other reason than he was out of shape and he didn't want to put his body through whatever he has to do to because I know when I watched some stuff about Balboa, he like the training regime he was putting himself through it. You know, what was he when he made that film? He was about 90, wasn't he? And like, it's ridiculous. Like, but I just 5. I mean, I think I've seen it twice, and it was on again about 2 months ago. They put them all on ITV4 or something like that, and it's one of them ones like Goodfellas. If it's like 10 o'clock at night and you just think, I just want to go to bed. Oh no, I'll give it another 15 minutes, and you flick it over for a 10 o'clock film. And if it's Goodfellas or a Rocky film, you just think, oh well, that's me till 1 a.m. isn't it? And like Rocky 5 weren't that. Rocky 5 was like, right, let's let the dog out, and then I'm going to bed. I
love the whole premise of Rocky 5 is that Rocky can't solve his problems by fighting, so he solves his problems by fighting.
Yeah,
like, it's like,
illegally.
Yeah, illegally in the street instead of in a ring. Like, this makes no sense.
Yeah, it's a great inspiration to young people and professional fighters. Don't worry about it.
It's the one Rocky film that I don't feel Stallone's comfortable playing Rocky. It seems like he's not really there, and it's also it kind of turns. They make him dumber in the second, third, and fourth. He's got a bit of wits about him, and then suddenly I don't know. He didn't know how to play brain damaged or how brain damaged he should be, and then they made him dumb again and unlikable. It's definitely the worst one.
That's a really good point that you just made there, Dave. Because in the first two, he was like, you know, even going back to the second one when he's trying to sort of do the TV adverts and stuff, he can't get it right. He can't read properly. He can't get his words out. And then fast forward to 3, like he's an astute businessman and he's a marketer's dream, and to the point where it can be proven detrimental. I'm aware that you haven't seen it, Rich, and then obviously in 4, he's a spokesperson for the United States of America, and he's the poster boy for world peace. And then come 5, somehow maybe it's them 150 clean shots he takes to the head that have left him a little bit punch drunk. I don't know. Yeah. But you're right. Come 5, he's like back to being like a village idiot that no one's got respect for.
Me and Rich did some research on this.
And that film is.
I don't know who asked. Jonathan Ross asked Stallone to rate them, and I think he gave Rocky 5 0 out of 10. So even Stallone doesn't like it.
Even Stallone doesn't like it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he made Over the Top. Or Stop on My Mama Shoot.
I think you're definitely allowed to hate Rocky 5 if Stallone hates it.
It's an anticlimax to
it's
the
in
whole.
the rules.
I'm so glad they did 6 and gave Rocky that ending, and then Creed as well. Because if Rocky 5 was it, oh my God, what a shambolic ending! It's just. Yeah. Balboa was fantastic.
Balboa was great, right?
I had a really good experience of watching that in the cinema. Everyone was like getting up and like, yeah, go on. Yeah, and that was just in Bishop Stortford on Thursday night. It was great though. But Rocky 5, it's got the music's like this weird techno-y, music-y thing. They tried to update it and make it cool. Oh, it's just horrendous. Is there a scene that you really hate?
I really don't remember that much about it. I've watched it twice, and I literally when I flicked over a couple of months ago, it was the brawl at the end, and it just.
My ring's outside.
Oh, it's so rubbish, man, and it's really sad because you just think before that was 2 incredible films, like 4 really watchable films and fun films. And then that, and then laced with when you find out what happens to Tommy Morrison, offset in his life. It's like, there's nothing I want to watch there.
No, there's a Don King wannabe in there as well.
Oh my God, there is.
That's weird. That's strange.
Yeah,
it's not good.
Let's move on from Rocky 5.
Yeah, I do want to play a quick higher or lower game. So, I'm going to be Bruce Forsyth here. So Rocky 1, this is going to be Rotten Tomato critic scores. Okay. So Rocky 1 got 93%. Higher or lower for Rocky 2?
Lower.
You are correct. 71%.
Is that all?
Okay.
That seems very low.
Dickheads.
Yeah. Rocky 3, higher or lower than 71%?
Higher.
Wrong. 63%.
Right.
Okay.
I've not seen it, but that sounds low as well.
Rocky 4,
Low.
higher or lower than 63%? You're right, 40%. I thought that would be the one that picked
40% for Rocky 4.
Where
what are they watching?
It's 5.
Critics don't know what they're talking about, clearly.
Rocky 5, higher or lower than 4?
I put my house on lower.
30%, you're right.
Wow.
Okay. Rocky 6, higher or lower than 30?
Higher, of course.
77%.
Undeservedly so.
Okay, we're going to do Creeds as well. Creed 1, higher or lower than 77%?
Ooh, lower.
This is the highest rated Rocky. I've given away the last ending now. This is the highest rated film. It's 95%.
Wow.
It's higher than Rocky 1.
Wow.
It is good.
It's a great film.
It is a great film. And Creed 2 was 83%.
Which is also a good film.
Which is also a great film.
Better than Rocky 2.
I am surprised that Rocky 2 is only 71%.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Rocky 4. That's
yeah, I thought that would be at least 100%. I wonder what the audience score. The audience score must be higher.
Yeah, I bet the audience score's higher. Definitely.
I bet go and see Rocky 4 at the Prince Charles Cinema in London, where they do quote-alongs. Must be a great thing. Oh. Right, we were talking earlier about you about to say what your most surprising sequels. So, what sequel were you most surprised about?
I've got 2. I'm going to be greedy and for an honourable mentioning. The first one was Trainspotting T2, which I thought was, which I wasn't expecting huge amounts from, and I thought it was amazing. I think I would have been about 19, 20 when Trainspotting dropped, and it absolutely defined that period of music and film and all the stuff that the awful man that promised the world at the time was telling us that this country was going to be this glorious place, and God, we got him wrong. But yeah, it was, and Trainspotting, and I guess Pulp Fiction as well. Them 2 films were just like everything, and knowing, seeing that he got the original cast back, I was just like, oh God, like, is this a really bad idea? And I went to the cinema to watch it, and I thought it was a brilliant film. Absolutely loved it. I loved the fact that there was way more Francis Begbie in there, because I think he's one of the greatest movie creations ever. If anyone ever says who's the scariest movie creation ever, Francis Begbie, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, and I thought the fact that Sick Boy Johnny Lee Miller had actually lost his hair, in real life, the fact that he kind of grew what he had out and dyed it, I thought was brilliant. I loved the fact that he was still down on his luck, hustling. I just thought it was brilliant. Absolutely loved it, and I loved the nod at the end of to use Lust for Life again, and to get the Prodigy to remix it and give it a completely new feel as well. And yeah, just thought it was wonderful. And I have one more, if that's all right, which my daughter reminded me of on the way back to here today. So I was talking about it, and again I'm going to go back to my sort of formative years, which most of these are from, and I think Chevy Chase is one of the funniest people ever. I think he's got one of the most funniest faces ever. Clark W. Griswold in the first Vacation film. And that first Vacation film, I think, is absolutely perfect. Beverly D'Angelo is amazing in it. What's the young lady who plays Rusty, who obviously went on to be in so many iconic 80s films?
Was it Anthony Hall, this one?
Anthony Hall. It was, yeah. Obviously Breakfast Club and
that guy.
I love that film. Excuse me. And I know there's a European Vacation and there's a Christmas Vacation, but I'm going to talk about the sequel that come maybe 3 years ago with Ed Helms and is it Christina Applegate, I believe?
It is, yeah.
It's amazing. It's so funny, so ridiculous. The only part of it that isn't that good is the cameo from Chevy Chase and the amazing Beverly D'Angelo. But yeah, I think as a big fan of The American Office, like is Ed Helms, isn't it? Yeah, I think he's ridiculously funny. The kids that they've got in the film are amazing. I love the fact that he's playing a grown-up Rusty, taking his kids back to this vacation to Wally World, you know, to keep his marriage alive, and just the kind of hijinks and ridiculousness that they get involved in is made me laugh as much, if not more, than when I first saw the first ever one. So that's my other shout.
I actually forgot that was a sequel, but that's a good shout. I've
not seen it. I didn't. To be honest, I've never even heard of it. I didn't even know that existed. Right, that's another one to find to watch then.
Write it down. We did one of these last night, and their worst pick for a sequel was T2.
Yeah, their worst sequel was T2. Yeah,
this is why this podcast's so good for us.
Wow,
yeah,
what did they not like about it?
Apparently, everything.
Kind of everything. Yeah.
Everything that you liked, they didn't. They didn't like that the characters stood still and did nothing. Stuff like that.
What do you boys make of it?
Quite like it. We think it's okay.
Get off the fence. Come on. Who's right, who's wrong?
I don't like it as much as you, but I don't dislike it as much as they did.
Yeah.
Such a safe answer, Rich.
But I agree with you on Begbie. I think the best thing about that movie is Begbie. And the kind of the him apologising to his wife and his kid at the end, after thinking about his dad. Like, I like that. I think that does show real character growth and real character change.
That scene where he's in the cubicle and Renton's in the cubicle and is it the Viagra he drops and he goes to slide it back under and that moment when they both realise who's sitting either side, and then I think it's Relax by Frankie comes on, and then that scene that just follows from that, just brilliant, culminating with Begbie's first erection in however long, and him just screaming in the air as he realises that the little blue pill just took effect. Glorious. It was brilliant.
I just think it lacks some of the magic the original Trainspotting. It's a very different film to the first Trainspotting.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
It's the one I'm intrigued by. What is your dream sequel?
The sequel to The Fighter. I'm sticking boxing films. Yeah, I thought that film was incredible, The Fighter. Mickey Ward is one of my favourite fighters. I didn't know about his family. I didn't know too much about his brother. Like, obviously, Mark Wahlberg plays Mickey Ward, and his brother's played by American Psycho. What's his name?
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, of course. Who must have lost a lot of weight to play a drug-addled fighter that had once boxed Sugar Ray Leonard, and he was kind of still dining out on that as his claim to fame. Whereas his mum was still sort of dining out on his brother's success and completely oblivious to the fact that Mickey Ward was a serious prospect. Huge extended family of sisters that are just complete redneck. Probably goes as far as to say sort of white trash and overbearing. And he can't seem to catch a break. He's getting sort of mixed success in and out the ring. And then gets his shot. And I just think his brother seems to get clean, which is great, and goes back to cornering him. And then the film finishes in a really sweet spot. But that sweet spot went on to become so much more. See, I don't know if either of you are aware of what.
No, this is why we want to know.
I've read a little bit, but mostly about the brother rather than about Mickey. So I don't know so. Dickie Eklund, didn't it?
Dickie Eklund. So that is a signed photograph of my favourite boxer, Arturo Gatti, who's there. He had 3 fights with Mickey Ward that are, if you're boxing fans or not, when you watch them Rocky films and you just think no fight ever happens like this, watch Gatti Ward, because they're the most insane fights you will ever see between 2 absolute warriors that outside of the ring were really close friends. Gatti sadly died stroke, very suspicious circumstances, wife arrested for it, cleared of it, and the story's It's a movie waiting to happen. The fights in the relationship with Gatti Ward, for anyone that's a boxing fan, if you ever ask what's your favourite fight, somebody will mention that 100%, because they're iconic, and Mickey Ward was just incredible, like chin of stone, hands of stone, and that story where it finishes in The Fighter doesn't even get started as to where his career went and where his story went. And there's so many beautiful documentaries on YouTube where he talks, and he's in tears talking about Gatti, who was, his absolute. You have 3 fights that are legendary fights with somebody. I mean, the relationship you must have with that person, and then that person dies, and I just think I'd love to see that film be made. I'd love to see the rest of Mickey Ward's career be put on a cinema screen, because it's amazing, and even the beginnings of it were incredible in The Fighter, which I think is a wonderful film. And I'd like to know more about what was going on with his brother and with his family as his career become huge, and he become one of the most famous fighters in the world, and would have become ridiculously rich. I'd like to know how his life changed as well, and all of the things that are in and around that first film, how that moved and changed as his career went on. So The Fighter, I'd love to see a sequel. Brilliant.
Yeah, because at the end all they pretty much say is that he gets married to the Amy Adams character and they have a daughter. And I was like, oh, how much more story is there to tell? A lot.
A lot, yeah.
Be good.
And almost The Fighter, it kind of doesn't even feel like a Mickey Ward film, does it? It feels like it's. I mean, I was saying this to Dave earlier. Christian Bale steals this movie essentially because he's so good in it, like that he just steals it, and he won Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars, but he should have won Best Actor, to be honest, because he wasn't really a supporting actor. That was his film, wasn't it?
He's marvellous in that.
He is. He's really good in it. But you almost forget it's Mickey's story, not Dickie's story. Yeah. And you kind of like, so I completely get where you're.
But that's the premise, though. What
from.
You've just said, isn't it? It is Mickey's story, not Dickie's, and the whole film is trying to move it from Dickie to Mickey. Because even his loved ones, the focus is always on Dickie, who is a strung out wreck, and when just moments before he's meant to be in his corner, he's jumping out the back windows of crack houses, and and it's that scene in there where
their mum just loves Dickie the most, really, doesn't she? She just like Dickie's the angel and do no wrong, and like there's that whole scene where Mickey's sort of like, I'm your son too. Yeah, that kind of I think that's great. I think she's brilliant as well. I think the mum,
Melissa Leo.
Melissa Leo, she's brilliant. Yeah, she's really, really.
Would you
good.
keep the cast the same for your sequel, or would you recast? Is there someone you think would play a better Mickey Rourke than Wahlberg?
No, I think he nailed it, and I'm not a big Mark Wahlberg fan, but I think yes, obviously.
As a boxing fan, you were happy with how the movement and how that was filmed. Cool.
Definitely, and you have to suspend it a little bit if you are a huge boxing fan and have boxed and stuff like that. You can't help but sort of look at things and just go, but I didn't get that without, I think, the story and knowing that it's a true story. Like you just, and they're replicating actual fights that happen.
They look so good, as realistic as well. The fights in Fire,
amazing, and a shout out to for the cinematography and of boxing films like Cinderella Man. I thought Russell Crowe was wonderful in that, in the ring. But I'd love to see a sequel to The Fighter.
I think that's a good pick.
It's a great pick. Because when you picked it, I was like, it's a really good film, but I don't know where it'd go. I don't know what they would do next. And that to know there's that extra amazing story. So
if you YouTube greatest boxing fights ever, there'll be a Gatti Ward on there.
What does the brother do? What you were reading about him, Rich? What does he do next? Or is he just
pretty much slides back into crack addiction? Unfortunately, doesn't stay clean. Kind of in and out of addiction this whole life, pretty much, by the sounds of it.
There is a bit at the end of The Fighter, isn't it, where Mickey and Dickie, the actual fighters, are sitting in a like a restaurant or something, just chatting, And yeah, Dickie looks like he's
Yeah,
a troubled soul.
And it just shows how good the casting was for Bale and Wahlberg, because they kind of look and sound like those two are acting. Would you have the same director? David O. Russell, even though it's a bit controversial?
I don't know much about him, Dave. Can you sort of why is he so controversial?
Apparently, I've got my lawyers have told me to say he's during Three Kings he had a fight with George Clooney, because he's just not very nice to his cast or crew. Apparently, he's a bit abusive, but a lot of people keep going back to work for him, so there's always a big hoo-ha. But is there a director you would like to see do a boxing film like that, who hasn't done a boxing film?
I don't think so. I mean,
apparently Wahlberg sent the scripts to Scorsese and he turned it down, sadly.
Wahlberg has mentioned a sequel.
Has he?
Like, he has, yeah, years ago.
Okay.
Because he's obviously a huge boxing fan. And I guess a lot of actors that are fitness freaks and fans of boxing, it's got to be a goal, hasn't it, to play a boxer, you know? You look at is Warrior, and like Tom Hardy was desperate to sort of play that role, I think, and you see it, you know. Again, going back to that, speaking to Stephen Dorff, like, you know, and he's just like, I'm just a big fan of it, and it was like, I wanted to see what I could do with my body at my age. Could I do that? Could I get in there and make it look real? Yeah. I think like every young lad, or not just young lad. I mean, you know. What's the Clint Eastwood film?
$1 Million Baby.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, incredible film that is. Like, have you ever watched the runner series that are on Netflix at the moment? The sports films that are on, and there's one about an ice hockey brawl. Sorry, a brawl at a basketball match, like
I saw an ad for it, but I've not seen it.
Oh my god! I think there's 5 out now, and one's about this gangster that buys his son. His son watched the film Mighty Ducks, and got obsessive ice hockey, so his dad bought him a team. And basically, have you ever seen the ice hockey film Slapshot?
Yeah, a long time ago. That was
Paul Newman.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and they basically turn into this team that becomes super famous for just brawling. Not that ice hockey's not got enough brawls in it already, and becomes super famous. But all the time the FBI are trying to pin all this stuff on his dad, who's a high-ranking mafia boss.
That's a film, isn't it?
And it's a film, but the documentary is incredible. And so there's a run of them. But where I'm going with this, one of them is about probably the first real high-profile female boxer. She used to be on the undercard for Tyson fights and stuff like that. And oh my God, I can't recommend enough that you watch this. She, in her own mind, knows that she's gay, but she marries her trainer that's probably 20 years older than her. She goes on to make good money and become a world champion and, you know, the face of women's boxing. Loses her first fight to Muhammad Ali's daughter, who at the time was obviously a really high-level fighter, and then decides that she shouldn't be married. She should, be honest with herself. And but at this point, he's being filmed by her husband in the house 24/7, who's just an absolute psychopath. And she tries to leave him, and he tries to kill her, and she's lucky. And the story is amazing. There's this probably got to be top 10 on Netflix at the moment. There's one about a tennis player, and these documentaries are all just sinister as hell and bonkers and wonderful, and I can't recommend them enough. There you go. It's my fun little TV recommendation.
I love it.
Sorry,
brilliant. That's great. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Where do you see on Raging Bull? Because I love Raging Bull. It's one of my favourite films.
I got to meet Jake LaMotta. I used to go to lots of meet and greets where you'd go to a certain place and you could sit there and listen to your favourite fighters talk. And I've done all the Ricky Hattons and the Sugar Ray Leonards and Calzaghes, and then in this tiny little place called Leon C, there's a little restaurant, and I just started thinking Jake LaMotta, and I was like, no chance. And it was like, it is. We've got the Raging Bull doing an evening with, and
in Leon C.
In Leon C. And so, obviously got a ticket, and saw the the Raging Bull. Yeah, it's an absolute masterpiece. Like, what a film! I don't know if it's De Niro's best boxing film. The one he done with Stallone was pretty good.
Grudge Match.
Oh my life!
Yeah.
But no, Raging
How
Bull.
they got talked into that?
Fucking hell! They must have got paid some serious money for that.
Yeah. Have you seen that, Rich?
No, I've not seen that, but I imagine it's awful. Just
It was basically sold upon like Rocky versus Raging Bull, and then they got Kevin Hart in the middle of it, and it's a comedy.
De Niro must have been a bit old by this point, right?
Yeah, they're both as old as each other, aren't they? Stallone looks...
De Niro must have been late 60s.
Well, so must have Stallone at that point. Surely.
Yeah.
Stallone was fighting into his 70s like Expendables with Steve Austin and breaking his neck. It's just mental what that man's doing. And apparently he's going to do Expendables 4. And how old is he now? He must be nearly 80.
Wow.
I don't know. We should probably fact check that. But
Yeah, I was going to say, I want to look up how old Stallone is.
have I made him much older than he is?
I think he might have done. He can't be 80, surely.
He's older than you think, I think.
Really?
One of you's checking it now.
I'm checking it.
Born in 1946. So what does that make him? Someone do the math.
He's got 70s.
Yeah, is it 1946?
1946.
So yeah, he's 75.
Come on.
Jesus Christ. And so he would have made that film, 5 years ago, Grudge Match?
Something like that, yeah.
Blimey. The way that the boxing world's going, he will probably get a shot at Evander Holyfield.
Or a YouTuber.
Evander Holyfield fighting at 58. Oh,
yeah, that didn't sit well with me.
Disgraceful.
Those were Stu Whiffen's Unequal Sequels. And Dave, I think I see a pattern. Do you think that Stu might quite like boxing?
I think he's a big fan, yeah. I don't know if you can tell. But that was good though, wasn't it? I enjoyed that. Talking about all things boxing really, and it was great. Really enjoyed that one. Again, God, it must get boring with me just saying I really enjoyed these one of.
What was great about this one, and it's great about these podcasts in general, is sometimes people go, "Oh, this is my dream sequel," and you're like, "Where's that going to go? How's that going to have a sequel?"
Yeah.
And then you sit down and talk to them and you go, "Oh my God, that's a great idea for a sequel." And that's the same with Stu, is that I thought, I'm not sure where the fighter goes from there.
Do you think it needed a sequel? But there we go.
There's this whole massive story that I didn't even know about. That would make a really great movie.
Yeah, and I often wonder if Rocky's lifelike, and Stu pointed us towards the Gatti versus Ward fights, and we've both watched those YouTube clips now. And guys, you should watch these clips. These are insane boxing, likewise. They're just like Rocky. It's quite hard to watch some of it because they're just going absolutely toe to toe with each other and trying to knock the shit out of each other. It's quite impressive. And they're friends, they were friends until Gatti died, apparently. But wow.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's amazing. And that's the thing, we learn stuff with every podcast as well, don't we?
Yeah, and I always like talking about Rocky. Because I've been waiting like a season and a bit now to talk about a Rocky film, and there wasn't even a mention last year of a Rocky film. And then, pretty much spoiler, lots of people mentioned Rocky this year. They come up quite a bit. So grateful I am.
Yeah, brilliant. It was brilliant. It was a really, really enjoyable, fun podcast to record.
Yeah, I think you should all go and listen to Stu's other podcasts. See, the man is a podcasting like wizard. He does a lot, and he's always good for advice as well.
Absolutely, and you should definitely go and pick up Podbible Magazine as well. You know, that's, if you can get hold of a physical copy, then do that, or just get yourself onto the Podbible website, because you'll learn about all the other podcasts. And that's the great thing about being a podcaster and doing these podcasts, is because we're not competitive with each other. You know, we want you to go and listen. We want you to listen to our podcast, but you also want you to listen to all the other movie podcasts and stuff that are out there too, and all the other podcasts about stuff you're interested in. Me and Dave are massive fans of loads of different podcasts. So yeah, go out and listen to them. Podbible Magazine is a great way for you to figure out what's going on in all those different pods, because there's a lot out there.
A lot good. That was quite good, Rich. Well done, mate. Good sales
thanks.
pitch.
Thanks.
Saying that, should we try and sell ourselves now?
Yeah. So if you've enjoyed what you've listened to, and hopefully you have, because we've really enjoyed recording it, and hopefully that comes across, then please give us a little review. Give us those 5 stars. Give us a little heart. Give us a little tick. Whatever it is on your platform that you can rate us. If you want to write some words about how much you enjoyed the podcast, that would also be amazing. We would very much appreciate it.
Tell your friends and family, please.
And also, spread the word, but also subscribe, because when the next episode comes out, it will just drop straight in your into your inbox, and you won't have to worry about searching for us again.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that.
Cool. Where can they reach us, Rich?
Yeah, we're also on social media because we work really hard, don't we, Dave? Well, you do.
So hard.
So you can find us on social media. You can follow us on Twitter at Unequal Sequel. You can find us on Instagram. Again, we're at Unequal Sequel. Or you can send us a cheeky little email, which is unequalsequel@hotmail.com.
Bang. Good job. I've got nothing else to say except for please come back for the next episode.
Absolutely. Come back to the next episode. Listen out for us on some other podcasts. We may be popping up on other podcasts.
We're doing like a promotional tour, so...
Yeah. We're just enjoying being guests on other people's podcasts rather than people being guests on ours.
It's a bit weird, but I like it. I've got nothing else to say, so it's a goodbye from me and a goodbye from him.
Bye!
Thanks for listening. See you next week. Bye.